Oh, I left that there, dang it. Okay. So Galaxy, let's go back here, buddy. Whoa. Whoop. There's a good boy. Good boy. So what we need to do is he needs to stand here nicely. Alright, Galaxy. Step ha. Good boy. Good boy. Alright, so what we have here is Galaxy. We're currently cruising along, just warming up in our walk. My current handhold is as such, hopefully you can see that well enough. I've got one line coming out of the top of my thumb, the other line goes in between my ring finger and my middle finger. So this is, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but this is, oh dear, I did not tuck my keeper on my right shaft loop. Hey buddy. Oh, you're fine. So we're gonna go ahead and go back to our station and we're gonna fix that. There's a good boy, you got it. Alright, back to the station fee. G. Ooh. Good boy. Alright. We're gonna fix this. It's a good boy. Alright. Good boy, Galaxy. Galaxy, huh? Good boy. Good boy. All right. Oh, you're fine. Good boy. There's a good boy. All right. So we have Galaxy here. I'm currently driving him one-handed. I've got my left rein in between my thumb and forefinger, and my right rein is in between my ring finger and middle finger. And this allows me a good amount of dexterity in my hand. So basically how easy, oh, you can walk, good boy. Basically how it works in this hand position is if I have myself adjusted appropriately, when I tilt my thumb to the right, he's going to start going left, good boy. And when I rotate my fist upwards, he should go right, or at least look right. It's a good boy. Good boy. Now, a lot of times when I'm working this way, I will, if I need a little bit more, I'll let the rein slide. So I may engage that left rein and then let the right one slide a little bit so that I end up holding a little bit more with this left rein. And then when I straighten back out, I might take that back up again. I can also, pick up that right rein and let the left one slide. Yep, stretch, good boy. And then on the straightaway, I can readjust myself back. What you can also do is you can take a loop when you do a tighter turn. So you can take this, pinch it underneath your thumb. There's your left hand turn. I know, buddy. Good boy. So smaller deviations, I'll just rotate my thumb over to the right to bring him left. Bring my fingers up to turn right. Or I can take a loop. So with the right rein, with the left rein, I just loop it between my thumb and forefinger. With the right rein, you can loop it between your thumb and forefinger, but that can interfere with the feeling on your left rein. Or you can loop it in between your forefinger and your middle finger. And I typically do the latter if I am going to take a right hand loop. Yeah, you can move out a little bit, buddy. Out, out, out. Good boy. I'll typically do the latter, so we don't have any room on the right here, so we're gonna go left. Try and get a little bit better bend here. He has a tendency to poke his nose out and fall over. Good boy. So if we're gonna do that right hand loop again, I'm gonna take my hand, stick it between those two fingers, hold it there until I'm done with that turn. Oh, you got it, buddy. And then when I don't need it anymore, just open up those fingers and it pops out. And that's what, if you've ever heard somebody talk about taking a loop, that's what they mean. They mean they're putting a loop in their line to take a little bit more of a feel on that rein, and then they can pop it back out. So that's taking a loop left and right, right and left. Huh, buddy? Good boy. Now with him, one of the big things we've been working on is when we do a turn, and he's doing a lot of stretching today, which is good. When we do a turn, a lot of times he'll end up, hey, yeah, I know, step G. He'll end up, there he goes, counter bent and falling in. So to fix that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel that left rein, and I'm going to squeeze on my right one and engage that right rein to step him back out, 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 out. And you can hopefully see me squeezing those two lower fingers. Out, Galaxy. Yep. Good boy. There we go. And then going the opposite direction, if he's falling in on the left, which he is doing there, I'm going to feel that right rein. And for this side, I can do a little rotation in my wrist and ask him to step out, 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 out. Oh, you're fine. Out. There we go. And again, out. Good boy. There we go. Nice. So we can do that through holding the outside rein, rotating the left rein over the right one. Okay. And engaging that whip on the left side until we get him to yield out. There's a good boy. So when you're driving one-handed, and it's really, you're still driving with two hands, but you're driving with the lines in one hand. When you're driving one-handed, both lines will be in the left hand, and then your whip and your slacker in the right. Now, if you are left-handed, you may do the opposite. You may have your lines in your right hand and your whip in your left. Just whatever eventually, feels best for you. There's no actual rule that says which hand your whip has to be in. So what works for you is fine. It's just typically it's going to be in the right hand because typically, again, the driver sits on the right, and if the whip's in your left hand, you're going to be beating your passenger. I don't have a passenger today, but that's the idea. So I've got my slack and my whip in my right hand, so if something happens to my reins here, I still have them here. I'm not going to be completely up a creek without a paddle. Now, if I'm driving two-handed, no, out. Yeah, you got it. Good boy. If I'm driving two-handed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the slack in my left, the whip in my right, and then the lines in either hand. So there's two basic ways that you can carry the lines when you're doing two-handed. And the reason I split out my slack and my whip is so that I only have, I don't have one hand with one thing and then the other hand has 3 things in it. It just kind of makes it less bulky. If I'm majority driving one-handed, I will occasionally grab my right rein with my right hand, and sometimes I'll swap back and forth. But if I know I'm going to stay in this position with the 2 hands, I will put the slack in my left and the whip in my right. So another note is, you notice my right hand, I actually have the line in between my forefinger and my middle finger. I'm not running it entirely over the top. And I was never actually told this, but what I found through just driving a lot is that this helps separate out the whip and the line, and it allows me to grip the line without feeling like I'm messing with the whip at the same time. So if I have it this way, this actually feels really weird to me right now because I haven't driven in this way in a long time. But by dropping and separating out those two, it's like with riding, you keep your rein between the pinky and ring finger and then the whip goes all the way through. It kind of just separates it out and gives you a little bit more of separation when you're engaging either one. I know! The barrel's wearing a hat. You're fine, buddy. You got it, Galaxy. Good boy. So there I held the right rein and I played with the left one in the whip to kind of straighten him back out as he was eyeballing the barrel wearing a hat. So, when we're using 2 hands, I guess I'll go over the second grip. So this is kind of the classic driving grip with 2 hands. The line's coming out of the top, your slack going down. If you're from more of a riding background, you'll see this more with the combined drivers. They'll have kind of more of a classic riding grip on their lines, out. And you can see how he wants to, yeah, out. There's a good boy. You'll see people doing this deal. So I have the lines coming in between my pinky and ring finger. The slack comes out the top. What this grip does is it's more of a power grip. So if you need to take a hold, this is going to slip less through your hands. And that's part of the reason why you'll see it used more on like the marathon course or the marathon phase of combined driving. And of course, people that come from the riding side of it, they're going to be used to riding this way and they may feel more comfortable starting out this way. And this is how I started out when I was first driving. I came from a riding background and this was comfortable and familiar. So I started out just 2 hands, classic riding grip. So when you're using the whip is basically your leg. The leg does not just mean go. The whip does not just mean go. The whip means move your feet, typically with a bigger step. Out. Yeah, out. 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 There we go. Good boy. And that step could be forwards, backwards, left, or right. How, buddy? Out. Out, Galaxy. Good boy. There we go. So if I'm asking him to move sideways, I am going to use that whip to ask for that step. I'm not just going to restrict his motion with the reins. So basics of the basics. Reins make feet move smaller steps. The whip is going to ask for bigger steps. So anytime you touch your horse's face, bitted, bitless, whatever, I know there's stuff there, you're fine. Anytime you touch your horse's face with the lines, you are asking for smaller steps. You are retarding his forward motion, or her, and you're asking your horse to take a smaller step, a less forward step. Anytime you touch your horse with the whip, you're asking for bigger steps. And how you combine those 2 actions determines what exact type of step you're going to get. So if I want him to take bigger sideways steps, I will engage my rein a little bit to say, hey, not forward. Okay, out, out. As I use the whip to say, move your feet bigger, out. Good boy. So if we're going to do a slight pivot here, holding that right rein, I'm going to gauge that left side, asking for bigger steps, but bigger lateral steps. Good boy, nice. Walk on. That was one of the nicest pivots he's done, actually. Yeah, big stretch. That was a lot of work, huh, buddy? Look, a boy, Galaxy. There's a good boy. Let me actually swap back over to this grip. So when you use the whip, if you're two-handed, that's kind of the downside of using two hands, is you lose some of your dexterity with what you can do with the whip. The major advantage of one-handed is that you can do whatever the heck you want with the whip and it's not going to affect what you do with your lines. Being able to hold steady on this right rein and engage that whip at the same time is hard. So you can't quite see it, but my elbow's sticking out here, holding that right rein steady as I engage the left whip and rein to ask him to yield out. There's a good boy. There's a good boy. So perfect elbow position, if you've got reins in both hands, is not going to happen all the time, because you need to be able to manipulate the whip and move it around. So another thing about the whip here is when you go to engage, and I'm swapping back to one hand because it's easier to do what you want with the whip without affecting his face. So when you use the whip, you want to think about using the very tip of your lash. I'm not sure how easy you can see it there, but so this one's got a black popper on it. So my goal is to touch him with the popper. I don't want to touch him necessarily with the white part of the lash unless I'm engaging his hip to step laterally. I really don't want to touch him with the stick of the whip. So you're not going to use your whip in and out like this. You're going to use it more in a rotary motion. So if I engage him on the left, I'm usually going to engage the whip in a manner that is counterclockwise. So I'm going to go down and then up and towards him. Out. Out. Come on, Galaxy. Out you go, buddy. Out. Yeah, you got it. You got it. A little stronger there. Out. There we go. Good boy. And then on the right-hand side, I'll go clockwise. Out. Out. Nope. Out. There we go. Good boy. So if you get in the habit of doing that, clockwise on the right, counterclockwise on the left, if you get your, if you end up with your lash around, it's really easy to know which way you need to go back to fix it. The other reason for using kind of that down to up rotary motion with your whip is if you do happen to get your lash stuck on your harness, which it happens, you know, it can get stuck in between like this keeper right here or whatever. If you use that down and up rotary motion per side, if you get it stuck on something, all you do is just pull it down and out and you get it unstuck. Ideally, your whip never gets stuck, but things happen, especially if you've got a really long lash. This one's got about 18 inches, and that's a good size for driving. If I'm long lining, I usually have a longer one, but for just driving, 18 inches is fine with a little longer popper. Oh, good boy, Galaxy. Look, a boy. So on a horse like him, he's an Arab, so he has some noodle. There we go. Left side. Left side. He has some noodle tendencies. He looked at the barrel again. And so when he does that, when he's staring off to the right and falling to the left, I'm going to engage my aids on the left side to straighten him back out. Because his big issue here is he tends to look one way and his shoulder goes the other. And that's really common with these longer necked horses, with horses that are noodly through their neck. So you may even have a draft horse that isn't particularly long in the neck, but they have so much flexibility that they can do strange things with their neck and their body does not follow. And another good thing to keep in mind, I'm going to talk a little loud because we got some traffic noise here, is that, you know, if your horse starts going sideways, the best thing to do to fix it is to straighten them out through the neck so that they can follow their body. The other note is that once your horse's nose goes past the point of shoulder, you no longer have straightness. I don't care how small of a circle you're doing, his rib cage and hip cannot bend that much. So once his neck is bending more than the rest of his body, he's no longer straight, regardless of the size of the circle or regardless of what you're asking him to do. Whether you're working on lateral work or just going straight ahead, if that nose is pointing past the point of shoulder, you are no longer in a biomechanically sound movement. Galaxy. So if you're cruising along and your horse got his head completely cranked to the left and you can see his full left blinder, your first thing to do is to straighten up that nose. It sounds a little counterintuitive. If your horse is falling to the left, our first instinct is to grab that right rein. But like right now, if I kind of grab that right rein, oh, you're going to make me a liar. Here we go. If I grab that left rein. So there he falls over. So he's falling over left. If I grab that right rein, it's not necessarily going to fix him and bring him through. Now, I have been working on him the last, this is the end of week 5. And earlier, like 2 weeks ago, if I had grabbed that right rein, he would have just dove in more left. But he's gotten to the point where he's a little bit, now he's diving, a little bit more together with it. So to push him out, right side. Nope, got to shorten up. Right side, out, 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 out. Right side, good boy. All right, and then we're going to bring him right. We can use the outside aids. Good boy, I know, big stretches. Now watch that right side. Good boy. The straighter I keep his neck, the more attached to his body it is, the more likely he is to actually follow his nose. Out. Good boy. Good boy. And if he starts noodling left and right, I can use that whip to push him over. Out. If he goes too far to the left, I can touch him on the left side and straighten him back out. But what I don't want to see is pulling his neck right, pulling his neck left, pulling his neck right. So once we get past this here, if I'm like, okay, he's going too far to the left, I'm going to pull him right. Oh, wait, that's too much. Let's go back to the left, buddy. Oh, wait, that's too much. Let's go back to the right. And you see how bad that gets pretty quickly. And as his head came up, he's like, what are you doing? Sorry, buddy. But if he gets a little noodly and you just kind of keep the head in one position and then move him off of the whip and off of an active rein rather than just pulling his head around, you're going to have a much better effect. All right. There's a good boy. I'm going to go back to the station, buddy. Step off. Good boy. Ooh. Good boy.